Today we're reviewing a very unique and interesting lens from Astrhori. It's the 18mm f8 2x macro Periprobe lens. And as you can see, yes, it does shoot at a 90-degree angle, not straight on like the majority of lenses, making this a really unique lens that's designed for professional video shooters. This is not really a photography lens. It's going to be kind of difficult to set up, and by no means is this for a beginner. If you think you're going to just grab this thing and get some cool shots, well, you're not. So I'm going to break this thing down for you, just show you what it's all about, and I'm not going to really review it as I would review a normal lens because, well, it's not a normal lens. So yes, video shooters, you probably know what you're looking for if you are kind of shopping for something like this. It is really unique and interesting. It's also a completely manual lens. There's absolutely no communication from this lens to your camera, fully manual. And as far as controls goes, you've got right here a focus ring, which actually goes all the way to infinity, which is really neat with these lenses that you typically see in macro, like a 2x. You don't really get to go to infinity that often. So that's cool that you can actually use this as kind of a regular lens in that it doesn't have a fixed working distance, and that's kind of cool. And the ability to go to 2x macro is actually really neat, really fun, and really impressive if you ask me. That's really getting in there. Yeah, are you gonna use that all the time? Probably not, and you're definitely gonna have to utilize like a really nice slider or a tripod to utilize that shot, because you're definitely not going to be hand holding this thing and getting any results that are worth keeping, that's for sure. I got my best results with this lens using my Moza SlidePod Pro, which is basically a tripod slider type thing, pretty unique, and if you want to check it out, I will link a video for you to have a look. Few things to note with this, recommended for professionals. You probably know who you are. And because of the 90-degree angle, you're gonna have to really think about your shots before you do it. You can't just kind of pick this thing up and wing it. You really gotta consider that this thing doesn't shoot straight on. And that kind of stumped me a few times. It does kind of lend itself to some interesting shots, and there are some absolutely amazing video creators out there. But for my usage, I don't see myself using this thing a ton from day to day, but there might be some times where I want to get some cool shots. Or another really neat feature of this thing is it's waterproof basically up to here. So again, not the actual mount here and your camera, you don't want that anywhere close to water, but you can actually submerge this thing into water to get some really cool and interesting shots. So that's really neat. And on the front here, you can actually see that it actually has some lights there surrounding the front element that is actually powered externally. It won't be powered through your camera, but if you want to throw a little external battery on here, you can actually use this and pick the different strengths of light through this little remote here, which is kind of cool. So yeah, being a 2x macro lens and stopping down to something like f/28, you're gonna need a ton of light. And that, being tough to get into certain situations with a probe lens, you're gonna have to rely on that probably to light some things properly. So yeah, kind of a cool and different lens overall. And talking about the construction overall, it's a metal construction. It's quite big, as you can see here. It's definitely not minimalist. It does have a pretty solid construction. It feels really well made. And in terms of controls, pretty much what you're looking at is a focus ring that's gonna, again, allow you to go to infinity. And then your very short throw aperture ring right here from f8 again to f/28. And that's pretty much it in terms of the physical characteristics of this lens. Now, it's not weather sealed back here. There's no rubber gasket or anything. So again, you have to keep that into consideration if you're filming outside in the weather or the rain or something. But yeah, this part is going to be waterproof, which is kind of cool. So other than that, let's check out a few more of the shots that I got with this lens. And again, I really recommend that you have a really good and solid tripod setup, maybe even two, or a really good slider to get the best results out of this thing. You're probably gonna end up having to stabilize your shots in post afterwards as well, especially if you're using those higher magnifications like 2x. That's just the nature of the beast. So again, overall, a very difficult lens to use, not for beginners, but pretty neat. Also, it's worth noting that you should probably be careful when using this thing, because on the end here it does have some pretty jagged corners, and if you're not careful, you could probably even scratch your $2,000 monitor back there when you're trying to do a keyboard shot. So my own stupidity there, but just be aware that this thing does have some rather jagged corners to be aware of. Also right here at the end, there's a little mount so that you can actually throw on accessories if you wanted another light or something different. That is actually there for you. So just a kind of another cool feature that they've thrown into this very unique lens. You can also get the non-90-degree Periprobe basically lens part for this system here. So you have the 90-degree, and you can actually get the straight one, I guess. I don't know what you'd call that, but the regular one, which I think for most people, for sure myself included, I'd probably appreciate having that a little bit more just because it's more intuitive. And I find myself just having to really think about my shots with something like a 90-degree bend here. Thanks to Astrhori for sending me this lens for review, but of course, as usual, they have absolutely no input, and everything in my whole experience to do with this lens was completely mine. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to pick it up, I will drop affiliate links down below. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.